9.1% inflation. This is a number, ladies and gentlemen, that came in hotter than expected. And the Federal Reserve, the central bank, is like they're trying to balance a potato on a marshmallow right now. They know what needs to be done, and that is interest rates ultimately have to go up higher than the rate of inflation in order to tame inflation, aka the Federal Reserve, where Jerome Powell is going to be faced with a difficult decision to raise interest rates either 75 basis points or even 100 basis points. That's, in other words, a 1% increase in one time for a decision on interest rates. And that is a huge implication for the broader economy. But you guys may be wondering, what is this going to do to PC parts and their prices? Let's discuss in today's video. Today's video is brought to you by SCD Keys. If you guys are looking for a legitimate single end user Windows 10 or even Windows 11 Pro license key, then it's as easy as clicking the link in the description below, putting in that coupon code BFTYC, and you can get these keys for as little as $14 after that discount. And once you get the key, all you have to do is then copy it and then put it into your Windows activation, hit activate, and you should be getting rid of that annoying watermark in the bottom right hand corner of your screen, as well as unlocking more features within Windows itself. So I'll put those links in the description below. Let's get back to the video. Welcome back to Tech Yes City, and lately I've been mixing in a bit of finance and economic news in with the Enthusiast Tech, and you guys have been loving it. The views and the watch time is higher than it's ever been on the channel here, at least in the last 2 years. So I'm guessing a lot of you guys out there are a little bit concerned. You're probably worried about what's going to happen, especially in the next few years. And unfortunately, I can't be the bearer of good news. I can't say, okay, things are going to get better, guys, because I think they're not. I think this system needed to fix itself after 2008. And what I saw in 2008 was a system that pretty much came to the end of the road. Except since then, they've just been propping it up with a thing called quantitative easing, aka money printing. And so what we've seen right now is central banks have stopped the printers worldwide. And basically, even with the halt of the printers, we've seen stock markets collapse, we've seen the crypto bros starting to have to go back to work. We've seen GPU prices either come down under MSRP, or in the case of Nvidia cards, come back closer to MSRP. Though out of all of this, the worst thing by far is the accelerated rate at which the cost of living is rising. Things like your power bill, your gasoline prices, even your favorite choc chip rainbow peppermint flavored ice cream has skyrocketed in price. Now the figure they are saying is 9.1%. Though from whenever I speak to people, it feels more like it's been 20 to 30% on average. That's for inflation. And to make matters worse, the repayments on people's mortgages are now skyrocketing too. And coming back to interest rates, those rates have to at the very least, be rising faster than the pace of the rising inflation. So 0.5% increase in one hit for your inflation, well, your interest rates have to increase at 0.75% at least. And coming back to that inflation, have average wages risen 20%? Even 9.1%? Absolutely not, and far from it. So basically, the rising costs of living is forcing a lot of people to spend less on things like graphics cards and CPUs and more on the necessities. Now, here's another factor that is not being talked about, and that's also the outlook. If people fear these necessities are going up in price and they'll continue to go up in price, are they going to go out and buy that latest graphics card now? Well, probably not. You can't eat that GPU even if it's at MSRP. I mean, some people might give it a crack. Let me know if you've tried in the comments. I'm interested to hear. But these economic conditions create the biggest thing that we are going to talk about today, and that is distortions. In fact, this roller coaster going forward, it's already been bad, and I feel it's going to get worse. The reason being is that those money printers have stopped, and government spending is still at record highs. In fact, in a lot of places around the globe, government spending is still increasing, and that government spending is a form of debt. It comes from the people. So with government debt, you either pay for it in 3 different ways: with taxes, bond investors, or with printed money derived from central banks. And now with the latter out of the picture, it means either of 2 things. And I say 2 things because I don't think many investors are keen to be buying bonds at this point in time. So taxes are going up a lot faster, or the printers have to start spinning back up again. And this comes back now to tech products and why I've been saying it's a roller coaster. No one knows what those central banks are going to do going forward. If someone tells you something is going to happen definitely with 100% certainty, then I would question their relationship status with Jerome Powell. Though ultimately this inflation affects Nvidia, AMD, and Intel just like it affects those costs of living for all of us. So prices of tech products over time with broader inflation will naturally go up. But during all of this time and with what is playing out, I will stress one thing, and that is relative value, aka price versus value. And ultimately, I think I'm going to keep driving this one home in pretty much all my videos. If something is cheap in the current market, then it's better to buy it, as it might not always be that price. In fact, it might not even be possible for said companies to produce those products at those said prices. They are just simply having to drop prices to move stock because they already have contracts in place to produce more products due to that said company perhaps not forecasting Jerome Powell hitting the pause button on the money printers. This is otherwise known as the bullwhip effect, and perhaps that company might not forecast the inverse. And if that inverse happens, then prices can go up quickly. And let's take, for example, a Ryzen 5 5600 at $200. There are say 100,000 units that AMD wants to sell at $200, but only 50,000 people want to buy them over the course of 3 months. Though if AMD wants to sell the other 50,000, they will have to slash prices where it's say $150, 100,000 people want to buy them. Though since demand wasn't at the levels AMD wanted for the $200 level, they will cut the next round of supply to say 50,000 units. But then what happens if the average consumer suddenly has more discretionary income again? And now there is 70,000 people wanting to buy those 50,000 units. Well, that's when prices go up, exactly what we saw in 2021. Okay, so you might be like, Brian, you are confusing me now. What does all this mean in simple terms? Well, basically, companies like AMD, Nvidia, and Intel will be ordering less of the products if they can't make as good as a profit on it. This means reduced supply going forward. Even though I feel we have an abundance of supply right now, especially in terms of enthusiast tech products, and those prices will continue to come down in the next few months, it's important to note that low prices in tech won't last forever. AMD, Nvidia, and Intel are not your friends. You are simply a transaction to them. And as always with any transaction, your goal should be getting the best deal. So if you see an RX 6600 for $255 brand new, don't be scared to snap that up. AMD is not in the game of selling GPUs $80 under MSRP on a $330 product. That is quite literally most of the margins being sucked out of that product, and it simply cannot continue forever. Same with the Ryzen 5 5500 at $110. These CPUs cannot be had for a solid price today. Can prices come down even more? Certainly yes. But there will come a time and a day where those prices will go back up again. Though as we have talked about recently on the channel with the higher end Nvidia cards, they are still at levels that I'm far from comfortable recommending. That is, they're still too expensive, so definitely hold out on those if you want a good deal on Nvidia graphics cards. September is looking more likely as well, with news of Ethereum moving over to proof of stake in September and all those enterprise cards flooding the market with used graphics cards. Anyhow, guys, speaking of a transaction, you get the best deal watching Tech Yes City videos. So if you want to subscribe, it's free. Hit that like button, it's free, and drop a comment telling us your thoughts and opinions. Just like this question of the day here, which comes from Mark Arsberg. And they ask, so where should I buy a graphics card? Amazon? I bought a GT 1030 for $300 3 years ago and then got a GTX 1650 for $300 last year. Yes, these are cards, but that is what was available. So what can I buy that would be good on that? Any recommendations? Thank you. So first of all, I'll say, wow, those were terrible prices on both those graphics cards. I feel sorry that you felt compelled to go out and pay that kind of money for a GT 1030 or a GTX 1650. As it stands at this point in time, again, that RX 6600, $255. Even now on Newegg, they're $280. Like, please do not go out and pay $300 for a 1650 if an RX 6600 is currently a better price and it's going to be a much better card in all aspects. And I mean, in terms of the GTX 1650, it can't do ray tracing either. So there's really not a whole point to buy a card such as that. If you absolutely had to get an NVIDIA card right now, I personally would be buying a used, as I said in previous videos, used RTX 2000 series cards. They can be had for pretty solid prices. Anyhow, hope that answers that question. And with that aside, I'll catch you guys in another tech video very soon. Peace out for now. Bye.
Taking me back to the start.